Okay, so when last we left our intrepid diseased adventurers, they fought the mucalytics, and they won. They killed all the mucalytics, but at great cost, because we'd all been spewed on in various ways.
Yeah, and they were...
Or spewed in some cases. Except for serendipity, Ben Goldstrider Malore.
Slayer of Breckenridge.
Slayer, Butcher of Breckenridge. Not Breckenridge. Olive Breckenridge. The Butcher of Breckenridge slayed Breckenridge. That was a bad thing.
Yeah, you don't want to get confused with that.
Or as we can now call her,
Yeah, she's the Slayer of the Slayer of Breckenridge. So anyway.
Wrong switch.
There's Stanley, and he's in even worse shape than us. But let's see. I think Aurora was in the worst shape.
Aurora was the worst. She was like crippled up and barely able to move.
Like that. She was like sweating mucus.
And yes, that's right. Mucus was oozing from her skin.
Yeah.
Hank,
you know you have a bad cold when your skin is sneezing.
She and Hank and Croesus all had a thing where they were like, they were sneezing, but like mucus came out of like their ears and like places that makes no sense just to come out of. And then Cricket had it the least bad, which was just her nose was just dripping like a tap.
Yep.
So
first thing we do, we all Stanley up and do a little search thing.
Oh, and I guess we should also mention, I think we mentioned this last time, but Stanley is completely paralyzed. And it took a while to ID him because he's basically paralyzed completely under the sewage. They pull him up and he's just, black with sewage. And scrape him off. He's just
like, in there. That's Stanley, alright,
I guess he's not carrying the box.
Yeah. So we're like, his fate is fair, I think. So anyway, we started searching the room that Stanley was in. Because we have no other leads. Stanley's uncommunicative right now.
There was a grate a little ways up that looked like it was permanent, but it actually it was like slightly ajar, like it had been opened. Hank noticed this, and so he crawled in there through this little tube, and he came into this room that was partly collapsed with a bunch of really old scaffolding in it, so some kind of like temporary construction room that was long since disused or something. And there was like a streak of sewage through the tunnel in there because it's a crawling tunnel. Then there was a pile of rags, gross rags, and then a pile of like cleanish clothes beside that. And it's interesting. They interpreted this. Oh, this is the exit. I don't know just how, but
we figured that
it wouldn't be that mean.
No one would come to this room voluntarily, I guess. So it must be the end of the road or something. I don't know. We were hopeful it was an exit. It was clean. That was the main thing. We were like, it's a clean room, so probably it's the right way to go. So we all wound up going in there, and serendipity that goes out of Malone was last. And of course, we'd all been like mucusing up the passage as we went through.
Yeah, like Aurora is literally oozing mucus as she's going, and of course they're all covered in sewage. So it's just it's this little really crawling tunnel.
So serendipity was what fire spell did she use?
And it was an encounter spell, so it took her a long time just fireballing this.
She was basically she would incinerate the passage ahead of her as she was going along.
It was an encounter spell too.
It wasn't a very long passage, so
no, it probably only took her like half an hour, but still, she was very meticulous about not getting any of their disease on her because they were diseased, and they knew it is highly contagious. So she's
So
like burning hands.
I don't think she had an at will that was fire based, but she had an encounter that was fire based. So she was.
What kind of wizard is she?
She's working on it. I think she wants to be her. But anyway, so we get in this room and we search the room, and basically Stanley's been camping out in this room. It's his little hidey hole. and we find the box. It's still sealed, or at least it looks like it's still sealed. There's no like opening. We don't know how it opens. But when we shake it, it feels different. There's something shifting around in there that wasn't shifting around before. So
And that required a really high perception check, which
Yeah.
Hank just made.
yeah, so we figure it might have been tampered with. But we're not supposed to open it, so that's all we can do. So we decide, since all of us except for serendipity also and Laura are very sick, we're going to spend the night here and try and recuperate a bit. And meanwhile, Cricket has the sending ritual, so she will contact what's-his-face, the idiot that hired us.
Valinar? Yeah, Valinar's the right.
Valinar, yeah.
No, not Valinar.
I have it written on one of my characters.
Hylanar. Valinar are the elves in Eberron. Hylanar to Zorago, yeah.
Right. So anyway,
Just Zorago.
I sending him and gave him basically an update on the situation. Stanley, we found Stanley. He's too sick to talk to right now. Found the box. Think it's been tampered with. We're spending the night in the sewers to recover. And he responded back all desperate, like, international incident. That's super important.
What do you mean tampered with? You gotta tell me more.
And I was like, that was my free ritual for the day. It'll cost me 10 gold to send him another one. Can I send collect? Does that work? And we decided that sending collect was basically just waiting for him to freak out and cast the sending himself.
Which he did.
He did very quickly. So he cast the sending. Like, so, what's going on? I'm an idiot.
I've done that
And we really didn't have anything more to tell him. I mean, we put everything in that first sending, so we're like, it's still what we said last time.
Have permission to open
Just
it?
Well, I think you just said it was tampered with, and the second time you mentioned how it it felt like something was shifting around, but still was not very much information.
Wait, you shook it?
They did check to see if it had been opened, and as before, there was no obvious way to open it, and it didn't seem like that had changed. So,
So we spent the night, and we had to find sleeping accommodations. I think there was already a bedroll for Stanley or something like that.
no, there really wasn't much to sleep on, which was an issue because it was going to harm your recuperation.
Yeah,
but
we managed to cobble together a nice cot out of the scaffolding. So we managed to put together a cot, and I think that was the best sleeping thing. The best sleeping thing was Hank.
Hank had the magical bedroll.
He has a magic bedroll, but that was Hank's, so we let him.
It was that was that super advanced oud thing, which is basically like a modern sleeping bag, and that's his bedroll. And it gives you +1 on something when you sleep in it. I forget what.
We gave Aurora the cot because she was worst off, and then we had
wrecked the cot.
Yeah, we just made it out of scaffolding, so we're not going to take it with us anyway. And she eats it, And
So Cricket spent the night nursing Aurora instead of making her better, instead of getting better. And Croesus was nursing Hank. Oh no, Croesus was nursing Stanley.
Yeah. So we made our endurance checks to see whether we get better or worse. And Aurora actually got a bit better. So she got back up to the state. She got up to the state where Hank and Croesus were.
Bacon.
No way to go there.
Bacon is better than sausage.
Bacon is still right better.
Yeah.
And Cricket didn't get any worse. Did Stanley get better?
Stanley stayed the same. Everyone stayed the same except Aurora got better, so she was just doing the She lost the crippled up, barely able to move thing, which was good because in combat terms that meant slowed and dazed all the time.
Yeah.
So, and she lost all her saves, but now she's much better.
So she's still oozing from her arms?
No, that's gone away too. So she's just doing the thing with the sneezing out of every orifice.
Ear sneezes.
Yeah.
Eye sneezes, etc.
So we left the safe room. It's okay, we're done with the mucalytics now.
Yeah, good thing. It'd be kind yourself glad that you weren't at the previous Tale Telling.
It was
If
bad.
that was disturbing you.
It was bad. It was horrible.
I still have nightmares.
I think it's because somehow I picture it like that would be so painful.
Yeah, it is sort of interesting. Like different people have different, I think, levels of visual imagination. I know
It's pretty
like,
vivid.
at the session, like Shannon was getting really grossed out, and Robin too. And I often find that like they often like I could describe something and it affects them the most. I think because they can imagine it better or something. But,
Still waiting for phasal diarrhea.
yeah, that's true. I didn't bring that out. Maybe that should be the next stage of the.
Something worse than mucalytics. Instead of vomiting at you, they diarrhea at you. Anyway,
Well, they did vomit diarrhea.
that's true.
Anyway.
So anyway, we're going through the sewers again, and we get ambushed by Goblin again. Once again, they get the drop on us. We're passing through this intersection that has like a perfect ambush intersection. It's got all these grates archers are hiding behind. There's a grate in the floor that the archers are hiding under, which actually worked out well to our benefit over the course of the combat, because first of all, it meant that that area wasn't difficult terrain because the sewage had all flowed down. But yeah, we'll see other uses for that grate later. So just as we're passing through this intersection, the goblins are like, attack! And so all the minions fire their bows at us in a surprise round. And Cricket just gets completely riddled. They're all focused firing on Cricket. I guess because she was a healer?
Yeah, well,
the
one of the goblin lived to tell the tale last
Yeah.
time. So like they said something like attack, and then someone was shouting something like, kill the goat or whatever. So
Yeah, and then Aurora was like, she's not a goat. And I was like, well, technically, and we got into this big debate about that.
and it was like there was a lot of goblin. There was so many. I don't know, probably at least 20 maybe more goblin. And there was a couple big tough looking goblin, and then there were four hobgoblin.
Yeah. So they focused fire on Cricket during the surprise round. They actually took her down. But that was okay because it meant that they couldn't attack anyone else during the round. They spent everything taking her down.
And Serendipity Van Goldstraat and Malora was way ahead of the party. Unlike usual, when you keep the mage to the back, she didn't want to walk anywhere near them, and she didn't want to walk after them because she didn't want to breathe their air. So she was way in the front, and so they ambushed them right as they were in the ambush spot. But Serendipity was way up ahead, right where a whole horde of goblin came running out to charge the party. So they all just surrounded her completely. But unfortunately, it was a surprise round, and only a couple of them were able to actually charge. So most of them just moved during the surprise round and completely surrounded her. And then we rolled for initiative.
We just barely won initiative.
I rolled 2 20s on my initiatives for the goblin, and so their initiative I think was like 27. But Serendipity also rolled a 20 and got 28. So and we just have the party initiative, so it's either one way or the other. So the party went first, and that made a big difference because they had just completely got them right where they wanted them, but the party got to go first.
That wasn't the first time Serendipity really helped us out in this particular combat. So then the combat starts with the first real round. Cricket starts down.
Onion rings.
Who is it that healed Cricket? Someone.
Must have been Aurora.
Aurora, yeah, she's got the healer stuff.
She's the only other healer.
That's true. Yeah, yes, I remember now. Yes, Aurora brought Cricket back online, and so I spent the round basically getting up. I got up and then no, I didn't do that right away.
There was a fair amount of moving around because Aurora went before you because she healed you. She did that thing where she pulls a bunch of enemies to her and then weakens them.
It seemed like a horrible tactical decision. So here's sort of it was a little bit linear. There was the intersection where we got ambushed, and there was this long passage where Serendipity Van Goldstraat and Aurora was down. So Aurora, and that was the direction we were going. So Aurora ran a short distance down into that passage, and then she did this thing that is like, it's like Come and Get It, but not really. It's a suck a bunch of guys.
It's like a star thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if this was the same one, but she
black hole thing?
Yeah, it's a black hole thing. Her light turns black and she suctions them up to her.
So she ran into this passage and sucked them all in this passage that we wanted to go down. And so it seemed like it was a bad idea.
Although it didn't really make... I don't know if it was... because already they were blocking it just at a different point, and she was trying to pull them off Serendipity, so she pulled about half of them off Serendipity with that attack. But yeah.
I think she did clog it up more. I think that until she did that, there was actually a path you could get to Serendipity via, but after she did that, there wasn't.
No, I think that was just the perception, but it was actually... It was completely clogged, and then it was completely clogged at a different point.
Yeah.
So I don't think it really made it worse, per se. It made it different, but...
But then, right after she did that, Serendipity won the fight.
As mages are what to do.
Well, this was even more than usual.
Oh.
So she casts that spell. That's the make an illusory pile of treasure that draws everyone in like a 10 square radius, huge area. She casts that in the intersection off to the side a little bit to try and basically clear the path for us. And so there's an attack roll when you do that for everyone that's affected. It's a versus will or something like that to see whether they get pulled over there. And there's like, what, 20 goblin? Something like that?
I mean...
Some ridiculous number of goblin. And they're all almost all in range. So she makes like 20 attack rolls. And over the course of that, she got 2 critical hits.
2 crits, yeah.
And John's got this special critical hit table.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah.
Where you can roll for awesomeness. And she rolled the top awesomeness twice.
Yeah. Although on this one, well, no, on this one she rolled it once, and then there's a second attack she made later where she rolled awesome.
Yeah, okay. So one awesomeness one and then one that was just merely awesome.
And because this was just a mental thing, she rolled on like just the magical table, and so the ability she got out of that was the power's not expended.
Oh. It was a daily. So she still kept that. She could do it again.
But you had a mental one with the ability to dominate somebody.
That is one of the options, but the better was that she kept it. So.
Yeah, and it depends. Like it's how many dice you trade in. So she had a +3 weapon. So and you have to roll. I forget. It's like you have to crit, and then you have like a 10% chance of the awesomest thing, which she got, and then trading in 3 dice gives you the powers not expended. So.
And I can't remember what the other critical did.
It was irrelevant because it just added damage. It did like daze the minion who was already dead from the attack. No, I guess it wasn't.
No, they were dead because they just kept moving around.
It didn't make a difference. Yeah. It was irrelevant.
So she did that, and then she did an action point.
And just to mention, almost every single one she hit. So all the goblins just churn into the room, and they're all fighting over, Of course, the hobgoblins were closest to it, so they all got next to it, and then they get immobilized by it. And so there was a leader who they didn't know was a leader at the time, but the leader was there, and he was shouting, "This is mine, I'm the leader." Yeah. Pushing them away, and they're all fighting and whatever.
Yeah. So that was really awesome. And then she spends an action point. Now that all the minions are in this big giant ball.
You're prepared.
And she casts Fireball on everyone, essentially. And that critted too, I think.
Yes, that was the one where, first off, it almost hit every minion and killed them. And then she critted on one of the hobgoblins, and that was where she rolled. So I had the crit table. So you crit, and then you roll it on D20, and then if you roll 18 or better, you get an extreme critical. Then you roll on that table, and she rolled the best possible thing, which is neck. It's in the neck, which just does extra damage. And there's an extra thing where if you do more than their bloody damage in one hit, it has an effect, and the effect for neck is instant kill because it's decapitation, right? Yeah. And so she fireballed him in the neck because you shoot this little seed and it explodes, right? So it's like the seed went right to his neck and blew it off. And so so he just, and he insta-killed him.
Yeah.
And he was at full health. It blew him apart, and I said it was just, all that was left was his head, because they're rock.
Yeah.
His head and his body, and they're glowing, because they're just blown apart by this fireball.
And like
So she,
practically all the minions are dead.
so she one-shotted one hobgoblin and killed almost every single minion.
Yeah. This was in her first round.
Yeah.
Oh, no, that's not true. She didn't kill almost, because that was a smaller range one, actually.
A lot of minions were
She killed almost every single minion she hit.
Yeah.
But she only killed like 7 minions.
But it really thinned the place out a lot.
That was when Hank proposed spending the group cinematic point to have the sewer gases ignite in the area, and I was like, yeah, that makes sense, because it just was such a huge epic explosion. And she has this special, she has that hellfire staff she got from the 15th level wizards.
Yeah.
So the sewer gases ignite and just boom, and it did 5 damage to everyone, party and everything included. But that killed all the minions, except the ones behind the grates were unaffected, because otherwise it would be too much. So, but it killed all the minions except for the ones shooting arrows behind the grates, half of which were dead already.
Yeah.
So that changed things a lot.
Was that round 1? That was
Yes.
round 1. That's awesome. Like first part of round 1. That's beautiful. Yeah, it was quite amazing.
Yeah, I was expecting this to be a really hard battle because they were all sick and had a bunch of penalties from being sick, and the whole goblin tribe comes out and they're like,
After he finished putting all the pieces on the board, I was like, oh man, this is going to be nasty. Really bad. We got to run away. We got to run away as best we can, and I don't know how we're going to do that because we're all pinned down. But then after that, we were like, okay, how are we going to mop them all up before any run away?
yeah. Actually, right after that, I should say something that happened before that was sort of interesting. When everyone was going for the treasure, one of the goblin leader shouted something. He said, "You idiots, don't go after that! The goblin is the treasure!" Which is interesting. Yeah. But then that same guy, who's the only one left standing, all of his tribe is dead, and Serendipity is right there, who's done it all. They're right next to each other, and so he has his weapon out, and he makes this attack that attacks reflex, which is super bad against him because their reflex has major penalties from the mucalytic thing. Anyway, he attacks Serendipity, rolls pretty well, and it's a hit. And then she's like, wait a minute. She finds she has this immediate interrupt shield, so she just puts up this ping shield and pings away his things. So he's like, you killed them all. Shoots him, ping. So he just ran away.
And then one of the other guys later in that round takes another shot at Serendipity, but that shield thing is
that shield thing protects her again.
Full round thing until our next round or something like that.
Yeah.
So she's just like blew up everyone, then
blew up everything, and then no, you can't harm me. So yeah, that was the point at which their morale broke.
Yeah.
We're 7. So actually we're not super high level,
but Goblin,
it worked out really well there.
Goblin are kind of crappy,
and it was pretty awesome too.
And she does have a level 15 staff.
Yeah, which
that's pretty nice.
Yeah, it's for this.
That makes
I think
her
it
hit
does.
a lot, I think.
Yeah, it does a bunch of extra damage on a crit, I think, and I think its other ability is once a day you can use an encounter power that has the fire keyword without expending it or something. So it's awesome, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you.
Yeah, well, just having a +3 stick is good.
Yeah,
at 7th level.
it's true. The other thing that's interesting is no one. I was just commenting in the beginning session. No one. I've had this crit table for a while. No one's ever rolled an extreme critical before, and then she rolled 2. Well, basically 2. And for the second one, she only rolled extreme critical. She rolled the best possible thing on the table, which has I think a 2% chance of occurring. Both the goblin leaders ran away, especially the one. Yeah. Actually, let's just wait.
Thank you.
The other Sunny?
Both hobgoblin leaders ran away. All that was left was the hobgoblin, basically. And the reason... Oh, yes, and there were some archers left.
Especially those ones in the grate and the floor. They were fun.
Yeah, there was...
Can you comment on them?
They were trying to get out of the grate so they could go to that treasure.
Yes, so those guys in the grate were actually... The grate led to a very short tube that then opened out just into the chasm. It was a drain. And they had like actually tied themselves to the little like ladder things that led down there and were just shooting their bows while tied on there. But as soon as the treasure thing went off, they started untying their things and trying to climb out of the grate. And so I don't know if anything happened.
They opened the grate and then we like, how did they come down?
One of them had died.
Yeah,
the other one got out of the grate, but by that time the effect had worn off and he was scared of serendipity, so he was trying to flee. But he got up and there was an immediate, I think there was an immediate reaction or something. No, he had just got out of the grate on his turn. Because on the goblins' turn, they basically all just ran away. The hobgoblins were immobilized. A couple of them hit and did some damage, but it wasn't particularly notable. And then I think their leader hit, which did quite a bit of damage, but still, just damage. And that goblin had just climbed out of the grate, was trying to get away, and then serendipity sustained her thing, which reattacked him to make him come towards the treasure, and that pulled him back over the hole, and he failed his save. So he basically climbed out of the hole, was trying to run away, and serendipity was like, "No, you go back in," and so he fell down the hole to his death.
Yeah. And then it was basically just the hobgoblin. So we started laying into them. Cricket used Shout of Triumph to shove the hobgoblin around. And I got into a rules dispute with John.
Oh.
Yeah. About what made sense with pushing.
For a while, I've had an intent to have a house rule about pushing. After that session where Mika, you were jamming and Mike Wellman pushed a bird out of a tree, and that bugged me so much that I was like, "There's got to be a house rule for this."
Right? They kept going on and on about birds and trees, and I'm like, "It's a goblin in a sewer. It's not a bird in a tree."
Anyway.
Basically, I was pushing a guy diagonally, and conceptually it sort of looked like I wasn't pushing him directly away from me. I was sort of angling him like a hook shot almost. By the rules, he was going further away from me, so it was allowed. And I think it made sense personally that I wasn't, it's a burst of thunder, it's not necessarily going to blow him directly away from you. Anyway, we had a fight. Yeah. But the end result was that the hobgoblin got knocked in the hole and fell to his death, so I was happy. I like pushing bad guys around.
Yeah, once the goblin had opened that grate, it was just a death pit, basically.
Yeah. And we were all focused on shoving the hobgoblin into that hole. I think 2 of the 4 wound up down the hole.
Some water when you get a chance.
And then...
Oh, baby.
That does look pretty fabulous. That's a lot of food.
Yes.
One was one-shotted by serendipity. 2 were...
Yes. Catch it. Thank
2
you.
were pushed down the hole.
And that left us with just 1 hobgoblin. Did the goblin archers run away at this point?
I think they did. I had serendipity make an intimidate check.
Oh, right, yes.
And that completely broke their morale.
Yeah.
And they all fled. That's why that guy who was under the grate tried to flee too.
The rest of us also made intimidate checks to try and help. Serendipity's intimidate check. And Cricket and Aurora were just through the roof. It was fantastic. Those 2 were the intimidateiest. But Serendipity Van Strider Malore had this enormous bonus to her intimidate on the check. Because she had basically just killed everyone.
Yeah.
Although,
And was
making them all run
through the battle invulnerable behind her shield, causing everyone's necks to explode, stuff like that. So,
I gave her a big bonus, but it was also a really hard check because, I mean, she was basically making the whole tribe run away, so.
Yeah. But they did. They ran away. Except that one hobgoblin who was immobilized by the treasure. Fake treasure. So, but he tried parlaying.
Yeah, and poor Common, he just started shouting, it wasn't surrender, it was something else. Truce.
Yeah. And he offered in exchange for his life, you take gold. You take gold. You can have the treasure. Have the treasure gold. The treasure that serendipity Ben Gold's treasure Mallore's illusion had created. So we're like, yeah, no. And we started killing him.
At one point, right before you started fighting him, Aurora tried to make a diplomacy check to get him to calmly surrender. And I was like, this is going to be super, and come with them. And I was like, this is going to be super hard. So I set the DC at 40. No, it's actually 39. She rolls, but before she could say her result, Hank also chimed in with a help, saying, yeah, maybe we can take you to the elders and get you fixed, which just really put him off. He was like, I hate that. Elders die. So he really was put off. So I gave her a -5 on her roll, which was a pity because she rolled 40 and would have succeeded, but because of that elders comment, she failed and they had to fight her.
Yeah. Hank ruined it all. But it was all perfectly in character for everyone. So, that's sort of where we left it off, actually, is we're fighting this hobgoblin. And it doesn't look bad for the party, because we're all pretty much in good shape at this point. Cricket's healed up. I don't think anyone else went down. And it's just this one hobgoblin.
Yeah, it's just a question of whether he'll get away or not.
Yeah. Or maybe he'll do some weird surprise thing that knocks one of us down the hole or something, I don't know.
He's in a bad way, though, because he keeps getting mobilized and sucked back and slowed. Like, it's really going to be hard for him to... He's trying to run away.
Yeah.
And that's going to be very challenging. But we'll see. I wanted to kind of end it with the end of that fight, but it wasn't clear to me whether he's going to get away or not, so... And it was time to end.
It was pretty like...
I just want to get out of here and get to a doctor or a cleric or something. I don't know. Goblins? Why does there have to be goblins? I just want to go.
Disease everywhere. Oh, gotta get. Okay, I'm clean. Just clean. Stay away from them. It's all good. Disinfect everything. With fire. Once again, fire does solve everything. I keep changing my opinion on that, but it's true. It does solve everything. Well, oh, right. Dear Diary, this morning I was really, really sick. I can't recall being that sick. I remember one time, I think it was when we lived in that, I remember living in this house that was like dug out of a hill or something. It was weird. And I remember there were buttercups. And I was really, really sick. Oh, yeah. Yeah, and the children were sick. And I think there was a man there. He was sick. I think they died. Yeah. Yeah. As I recall, and then I died, yeah. This time reminded me of that time. Except this time there was more like stuff coming out of my skin. I don't remember that from my armpits hurt, but I don't think it was out of the skin. Yeah. I don't like being sick, but you know, if you've got to be sick, it's great to be sick with somebody there who really cares about you. I'm so thankful for my friend Cricket. She sure took care of me. I was feeling so unwell. I could barely lift my head. And she made me soup, and she told me everything would be okay, and I believed her, because she's a very honest sort of person. Oh, pardon me, she doesn't call herself a person, but yeah, she's very honest, I think. I think she is. And anyway, it's obvious that she really cares about me, and I sure appreciate that. She took care of me, and I felt a lot better after. Which was handy, because, boy, we ran into all these goblins and these things that look like Croesus, except they've got some kind of patch job on their chests, and they wanted Croesus, but then Serendipity just took care of them, so that was good. Wow, she's pretty impressive. That time she tossed that thing that cat out of the window. It wasn't actually a cat, it was a cat shifter. Yeah, don't make her angry. I should remember that. Not that I ever make anyone angry, but I should remind Hank not to make Serendipity Van Goldstrider Malor angry. In fact, I better put this down and do that right now. Hank! Hank! Hank!
It's not happening. It's not real. It's not real because I took them with me. I took them all with me. He was heavy and I just doing what I have to do, okay? I took everybody with me. Everybody's getting out, and this is just a really bad. We didn't know, okay? We didn't know. You put people in the ground, and the waystones go back into the ground, and then they heal the earth, and it's supposed to be restful. You're supposed to go into the ground and you rest. That's the Oblin's reward, okay? You go into the ground and you rest, which is why it's okay. It's okay. It's all a dream. It's all a dream. It's all a dream. It's not. This isn't real. None of this is real. And just no, this isn't happening. It's not real. I took them all with me. I took them with me. I took them all.
Well, I think I've decided, after due consideration and seeing everything that happened just recently, we should keep Serendipity Van Goldstrider Malor. She is a valuable asset to the team. Yes. Still not feeling well. But Aurora's feeling better, so that makes me feel better. Excuse me, pardon me.